World War I, Section 5 with Ms. Lashy. The U.S. enters into World War I. French and British forces were exhausted from fighting in the trenches in northern France for 3 years. The American Expeditionary Forces, or U.S. troops, joining the war helped to relieve some of the strain for the Allies. In order to enlist more men into the U.S. military, the Selective Service Act was passed to forcibly enlist men to fight in World War I. So with the Selective Service Act, essentially, if you're over 18, you were pulled into the military and forced to fight whether you wanted to or not. The U.S. enters into World War I continued. Goods that became scarce during the war, like sugar, became rationed and people were given ration books. The U.S. government tried to sell war bonds to increase money to help fight the war effort. So goods are things that people are purchasing, consumer products. So sugar, leather, other goods that became scarce or rare or hard to get to were rationed out or portioned out to people so that everybody would get their fair share. The American Expeditionary Force. General John J. Pershing took a large group of inexperienced soldiers and turned them into an effective fighting force called the American Expeditionary Forces. When they arrived in Europe, it became a turning point in the war in favor of the Allies. The Battle of Argonne Forest. Argonne Forest is located in northern France. The American Expeditionary Forces began a major campaign against Germany in this region. The Allies cut off a railroad that served as a supply line for the Germans. They were successful in gaining control of the railroad. This battle is considered to be a turning point in the war and contributed to the armistice. And the armistice is the agreement to stop fighting. Alvin York. Alvin York was a member of the American Expeditionary Forces. He fought in the Battle of Argonne Forest. He stopped several German machine guns, killed 28 Germans, and captured another 132 German soldiers. Alvin York was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor. Women in the war effort. Many women left their homes and roles as housewives to enter into the workforce in support of the war effort during World War I. Large numbers of young men had gone overseas to fight in the war and their positions needed to be filled. When they returned home, many women were forced back out of the workforce. Women had proved that they were capable of working in hard labor jobs just like men. So this was important because women were coming out of the homes and entering into the workforce. And this is where, here in the United States, they're going to start to demand some more equality and more rights. It's a very important, important turning point for women here in the United States, where they're going to seek greater equality. Minorities in World War I. African American men served during World War I in segregated units. They served with French troops in the trenches. Native Americans also fought in World War I. While serving overseas, they observed the lack of racial segregation and became aware of greater racial equality in Europe than they were experiencing in the United States. African American World War I veterans began to demand more equality when they returned home.